Good morning, everyone. Anthony, Wall Street Trader, 10:27 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on January 16, 2023. Here to talk about AllianceBlock. Before we get into it, this is not financial advice. This is educational. Click the subscribe, the bell, share the video, click the thumbs up. Intraday updates on Twitter at Wall Street Tra 12. That's one word, Wall Street TRA 12. Let's move forward. If you have any other cryptos or stocks you want covered on the next video, please add a comment below. You have to be in YouTube to do it. So feel free to add them. In the meantime, we'll go straight into AllianceBlock and how I look at it. But before we do, let's just look at some key aspects of AllianceBlock. Number one, on the supply side of the equation, there is only 23% circulating. There will be more through time. Little concerning about that, and that's where I get hung up sometimes when I'm about to make an investment. I like to look at how much supply is out there already. I don't want it to dilute that much. So it's a $25 million market cap. Pretty small. However, there are some things that are very interesting about this particular crypto, and we're going to go into that now. So Alliance Block is really doing quite a bit, and just to give a view of what they actually do, they're kind of a centralized protocol that's used or decentralized when it's in action, but it's a protocol that people can use across the traditional finance space to get access to capital that's coming in the decentralized finance space. Well, there's plenty of hurdles. I mean, look at what's going on with FTX and things like that. So the nice thing about Alliance Block is they're trying to solve a lot of equations that allow traditional finance to get more capital from the DeFi world. Well, there's only a couple of things that they need to get over. One is around the KYC AML. There's a huge compliance, and this is almost everywhere at every corner of the world. KYC is the acronym for Know Your Client, and AML is for anti-money laundering. So trading partners in the traditional finance space don't want to be dealing with rogue clients. So you kind of have to know who your clients are. The other part of it has to do with regulations, cross border regulations, and any other regulations related to transactions on DeFi, as well as it is applied to traditional traditional financial products. So that's kind of how these guys solve a massive use case here. And as traditional finance tries to get more integrated into the DeFi space, they have to get through regulation hurdles. The last thing you want is a company like JP Morgan or another big name getting in trouble because they didn't have the right controls in place. These guys help provide that control aspect to make it happen for these companies so that they can continue to comply. Now, let's go into some of the partnerships that they've got. I've got a few down here, a few right off the bat I know because I've done videos on them. Quant, which has worked very closely with some capital markets, new issuance products to help them get access to more capital through their product called the Quant Protocol or Quant Network. They also do a lot with central banks are trying to get more involved in helping them develop out new digital currencies. In the meantime, also Hollow, which is peer-to-peer, very, very interesting pairing of Alliance Block. And as the name suggests, Alliance Block, these guys are just building alliances. If there's any company not seen, Quant does it pretty good. Alliance Block does it pretty good as well, which is they're working top down. They're working with key heads of companies and or big business units within these companies to get the adoption. It's not just the ground level. Some companies like New Cipher and some other ones I've covered work with the development community to start it there, but these guys are starting from the top and moving it down, which is actually even more potentially more impactful and may get more may accelerate the adoption more so in that regard. So Alliance Block not only works with these technology companies like Chainlink as well, but also companies like LSEG, which is an exchange, big exchange out in London. You've got other companies further down, such as NatWest, another big company, another bank out here in the States. So definitely some financial institutions, but also some level two, level one blockchains like Polygon, which is a level one blockchain. So they're definitely integrating in with massive, massive participants. In the meantime, we're going to go look at their roadmap, and as you can see here, they start up things like, selected as a startup academy by MasterCard. So they're helping work with other big companies in the accelerator capacity, in the academy capacity, really building awareness at that level as well. So they're not only working it from the top down, they're also working it from the bottom up. So let's go down and further down here, you'll see there's a pretty significant release coming up. But, they've got things like NFT bridging and other aspects down here that I would say the data tunnel launching on the mainnet, that seems to be pretty big. These are all into end of 2022 and going forward. Now let's go over to one of the other areas that, I wanted to show everyone, which is right over here. This is a big blockchain event coming up. I think a lot of these cryptos, especially in the fintech area, that are running up, probably do a lot to this Davos 2023. By the way, this isn't Davos as in the Davos for financial communities. This is the blockchain Davos. So this is out in Switzerland. This should be pretty interesting. As you can see, AllianceBlock Rashid Ajaja is going to be doing some speaking there. A lot of companies going to this thing, and pretty big ones as well. So very nice to see that they're getting the word out. Now let's go take a look at some of the price action. All, Alliance Block moved up to, like, it was as high as like 13, dropped around 30% overnight. But the key here is that, it's really starting to build up what I consider a pennant here. And it's hard to see it until I draw it. But over here, you've got a nice leg up. You've got a bit of a dive here, and then you've got another kind of right over here. Could be a flag, could be a pennant. I don't know, but we have to look at a couple of other things. And for those who've watched my videos in the past, you will know I look at two other pairs in order to make somewhat of a better assessment. Number one is going to be the inner strength of Alliance Block. Right now, we drew the pennant on the Alliance Block to dollars. I live in the States, so I invest in dollars. The other two pairs I look at is the inner strength. This is if Alliance Block moves higher, but this pair doesn't move at all, the Alliance Block to Bitcoin, and Bitcoin moves up, then I know it's Bitcoin moving the dollar version of Alliance Block. And that's key here. So both of these moving together up make all the difference in the world, and that should propel this up even further, meaning the US dollar version even further. So the mathematical equivalent is below. Feel free to do the math. It all makes sense. But let's go straight into the markets on this inner strength. This is really pretty strong. This is the one that's going up, and it continues to go up. And you see Bitcoin not going up that much. This bad boy has moved up dramatically, creating a pretty significant, we broke through a resistance area, which is now support. As you can see here, we literally had a resistance line coming across over here, and then out of nowhere, it just popped straight up. Who knows? Could it be because of the Davos community uh, get together and tomorrow into Tuesday, into Wednesday? Maybe. That could be. Usually it's events like that where you have star speakers talking, where you have much more exposure to the company. That could definitely be playing a major part as well. But I mean, the use case itself is very, very compelling. The only negative drawback I have with the company right now, in terms of my hesitation to going in, is really around the circulating supply that's out there and where the ultimate supply is going. But aside from that, everything else looks good. You can't really just invest based on, the fact that the crypto will get diluted. I think that's a foregone conclusion. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to dump it all at once. And as long as they are responsible in how they, add more of that currency through time into the system, that it does not impact the Alliance Block holders. So we do have resistance up here at 710 on the ALBT to Bitcoin pair. So we're at 621. So we could go up another 10%, maybe a little more, 15% or so. Think we might see a little resistance here. But the support over here is around 536, which is another 10, 15% below. So we're smack dab in between the resistance and the support line. Now let's go over to Bitcoin. Also over here, we kind of had a nice W pattern. We do have resistance in the 22,500 area. If we can crack through that, the next stop up is around 28,000, 29,000 to 30,000 area is where we're going to have resistance as well. So Alliance block to dollar right now looks good. This is a bullish pattern that I'm looking at on the dollar pair of Alliance block. So let's see what happens. Trade very cautiously here. If this thing starts tanking here, this is not where you want to be. You kind of want to be a little bit cautious. So let's just draw one other line here. Yeah, I think if you can take on the risk down to 10, that's fine, but below that, it starts getting fairly ugly fairly quickly. So, look, we're going to watch this thing over the next few days, see how it pans out. I'm sure, the Davos should be helpful to the particular technology they're building and the adoption. Markets always operate a little differently, so you have to manage your risk well. I mean, if you're in this thing, also for the very long term, I think if as long as you can, shut your eyes to it for a long time and look at it next year or two, I think this thing will be higher than where it is now for sure. How much high? Couldn't tell you. But if you're a short-term trader, I would say you'd want to get out before, if it goes below 10 cents at this point. Anyway, hope everyone's having a good day. Take care.